My name is Rachel. I live in Ohio, in a quiet suburban neighborhood where families know each other, and every front porch feels like a stage for life's everyday dramas. I never thought I'd be the center of one, especially not one involving my nephew, Brian. Looking back now, the memory still makes me cringe, but also reminds me how life has a way of teaching us lessons in the most unexpected and uncomfortable ways. I was in my early 30s, married to Mark, a hard-working man who provided stability and comfort but wasn't the most expressive partner. Our marriage had been through ups and downs, mostly because of unspoken issues we both swept under the rug. I often distracted myself with small hobbies, reading, gardening, even journaling my feelings late at night when I couldn't sleep. But the truth was, I was lonely. One weekend, my sister and her husband asked if Brian, their 19-year-old son, could stay over at our house. He had recently started college nearby, and they thought he could use a weekend of home-cooked meals and a break from the dorms. I was more than happy to have him stay. Brian had always been like a little brother to me, even though he was now a grown young man with his own thoughts and ideas. That Saturday morning, I was in the living room, talking on the phone with my best friend, venting about the frustrations of my marriage. My words spilled out freely, things I never imagined anyone else in my family would hear. "Sometimes I feel like I'm invisible to Mark," I whispered into the phone. "It's like I could be crying in front of him, and he wouldn't notice. I feel like I'm playing a part in a play, but no one in the audience is watching." What I didn't know was that Brian had just come downstairs to grab a glass of water. He paused at the doorway, hearing my words. When I noticed him standing there, my heart sank. The look on his face wasn't one of judgment, but of shock and concern. I quickly ended the call, fumbling with my words. "Brian, I didn't see you there." He looked uncomfortable. "Sorry, Aunt Rachel. I didn't mean to listen. I just couldn't help overhearing." I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole. How could I explain that he had walked in on a private confession of my deepest feelings? For the rest of the day, I tried to brush it off, pretending it hadn't happened. I busied myself with cooking dinner and asking Brian about college life, but inside I was crumbling. That evening, while Mark was still at work, Brian quietly approached me in the kitchen. His tone was gentle, almost protective. "Aunt Rachel, I don't know if it's my place to say this, but you don't deserve to feel invisible. You've always been the one who makes everyone feel cared for. You deserve the same." His words hit me harder than I expected. I had always thought of myself as the caretaker, the peacemaker, the one who held things together. Hearing someone recognize my pain, especially from someone younger than me, was both humbling and comforting. But the conversation also created tension. I didn't want Brian to carry the weight of my struggles. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how my nephew had accidentally stepped into a private corner of my life. And as uncomfortable as it was, it forced me to face something I had been avoiding for years. My marriage was in trouble, and my silence was only making it worse. The next morning, over breakfast, Brian asked me softly, "Are you going to tell Uncle Mark how you feel?" I sighed, staring at my coffee. "I don't know if he'll even listen." Brian shrugged. "Maybe he doesn't see it because you've never said it out loud. Sometimes people don't realize what they're doing until someone tells them." It was strange taking advice from my nephew, but he was right. That Sunday evening, after Brian left, I sat down with Mark. My voice shook as I finally let the words out. "Mark, I feel like I'm disappearing in this marriage. I need to feel seen, heard, and loved." To my surprise, Mark didn't get defensive. He looked tired, guilty even. "Rachel, I didn't know you felt this way. I thought I was giving you what you needed by working so hard. But maybe I've been giving too much to my job and not enough to you." That conversation was the beginning of a slow but meaningful change in our marriage. We started setting aside time for each other again. We went on evening walks, we cooked meals together, and we even laughed like we hadn't in years. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Months later, when my sister visited with Brian, I thanked him quietly. "You walked in at the worst time, but maybe it was the best thing that could have happened. You reminded me that silence solves nothing." Brian smiled, a little embarrassed, and said, "Sometimes awkward moments are just life's way of getting our attention." He was right. That awkward, humiliating moment turned into the spark that saved my marriage. And though I'll never forget the shame of being overheard, I'll always be grateful for the lesson it brought.